so much, Fuzzball. Check, check. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's much better. All right, we can we'll get a little more. Whoa. Okay, thank you so much, Fuzzball. I was just screaming into the void, but now you can hear me. I changed microphones since the last WordHack, so now I am back. I was just asking people to make a little post in the chat, like you and Max. I just want to have people come in and say hello here at the top of the show. Good. Lets me know that there are people here and that you can hear me. It's always great to hear. Oh, hey Ramjeet. Oh, we got some party Kirby's coming in here. That is fantastic. Oh, what up, Leaps? Welcome to WordHack. So I know some of you, the prompt and punctual WordHack attendees, may have been to our show before, but for those of you who haven't, this is your first WordHack. I guess I'll fade out my smooth jazz background music. This is your first WordHack here. Tonight, WordHack is a monthly show that we host at Babycastles. It's now almost 7 years running. It'll be 7 years next month that we've been doing WordHack. It's a monthly show at Babycastles. We've been doing online shows over the past year and change since quarantine. My guess is that we'll be back to doing live shows in the fall, but I still don't know the exact details. But I think we're still going to keep on streaming either way. But WordHack is a monthly show, a series of talks and presentations all about the intersection of language and technology. So just kind of the way that computers, word processors, code editors, different ways of delivering language, how that affects the way we read and write and think. And lots of people come at that problems in different ways. Writers might come at use technology to find a new way of expressing the things they're writing. That's how I got into this field. Or you might have people that have a programming that have built a computer program that's a really novel way of creating new things with text. You might have people working in games who have new like dialogue engines or procedural lore generation. Might have digital artists creating experimental text-based works. Might have academics using digital means to research things about language, or sociologists, anthropologists, people using digital tools to discover new things with language. All kinds of people are welcome here in the WordHack community around this big tent of language and technology. So you probably have been able to see scrolling under my head so far, but really excited for our set of featured presenters this evening. So tonight we're going to be hearing from Nat Mesnard and Patrick Watson. We're going to be hearing from Edith Viau and from Murilo Polese. Really excited to have them. Let's give it up real quick for our featured presenters. Oh yeah. And so anytime maybe you hear this sound, anytime you hear this clapping, or I introduce someone, and really like anytime you would clap at a live show, I encourage you to type maybe a little clap or a little woo in the chat. Kind of let our audience know that, or let our presenters know that there are people watching, responding. So let's give it a try real quick. Let's get some claps and some woos in the chat for our featured presenters. Here we go. Yeah. Whoa. Oh yeah. Fantastic. All right. Excellent. Very cool. So let me turn off these giant text. Maybe I'll keep these giant texts at least for now. I'm Todd Anderson. I'm your host, by the way. Good to see you. good to be with you here on this summer evening. And so one thing we do at the start of every WordHack show is the Open Projector. So the Open Projector has been a part of the show since its start in 2014. I come from a poetry background, and I just think it's a really important thing for artistic communities. Having a way where you don't have to know someone, you don't have to have gone through an application process. You can just, if you have something you want to share, you can sign up and share it with a group of people and kind of make some inroads, share your work, get some conversation started, get some feedback, maybe find some collaborators. I think all of that is really important, and it's often hard to do in digital spaces because of technology concerns, or like, oh, are they going to be able to connect to this projector? And yes, they will. You just have to buy a lot of dongles. That's the secret to Open Projector, is just owning 4 different dongles. And if you own 4 different dongles, then you can have an open digital space where people can share their projects. So that's been a tradition of WordHack. People can sign up and share a project for 5 minutes. Really excited to share our Open Projector tonight. But first, also from my poetry background, I want to bring back a little bit of a tradition from when I was doing slam poetry, which is the tradition of the sacrificial poet. The sacrificial poet would be the first person that presents during a night, and they just kind of absorb all of the negative feeling in the audience, and they calibrate the audience. They get people used to the flow so that the audience is ready with their true, authentic selves for the real performance. So the sacrificial poet tonight will be played by me. Me, Todd, your host. So let's give it up for your host here doing a sacrificial poet. Just kidding. Don't clap for very long. Yeah, woo, 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 clap. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go turn off these texts, and I'm gonna show a project that's a bit of an old project, but it was offline for a while, and I just refurbished it so it's working with modern web technology. Let me get my browser set up here. Right, here we go. There we go. You can see me. Fantastic. So this is a piece of mine called Word Synths. Make myself a little bigger here. Woo. Yeah. And actually, yeah, we can just leave it like this. If you want to play around with it yourself, you can. Oh my God, I accidentally opened up the bits menu. This is the website, but it's a little tool for making music and writing at the same time. So I could just be like. complicated ones. Let's see. Crossed out letters mutes them. We'll get there. Thanks so much, everybody. You can check that out at topwords.com/wordsynths. Really appreciate you checking that out. It's an older piece of mine, but I think it's a lot of fun, and finally is working with modern web editors. Thank you for your claps. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming here to WordHack. Going to get started with our open projector here, though. Thank you so much. Going to get started with our open projector. Really excited to welcome to the open projector, and let's make sure we give them a warm round of applause in the chat. Please welcome Danielle Gauthier. Give it up for Danielle.
Hello. Okay, so this is my project.
Hey, Danielle.
Hello. Okay, so in theory, you could click on this link, but I'm not. Oh, let me put it in the Twitch chat. One second.
Oh, meta.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to put it in Zoom chat, I can type it in there, Danielle. Sick.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, if you wanna drop it in Zoom chat, I can put it in chat.
Well,
Okay, perfect. 1 second.
okay.
There we go. Alrighty, and we are back.
Okay. So please click on this link. And it's best if you use Chrome because I would like you to allow microphone and camera access with your browser. So maybe copy paste that into Chrome browser. And this is just going to be a quick explanation of what I made here. So you can listen as I explain to you how I'm using P5JS to make a calculated distortion of my image without ever looking at you. And I wrote down here to laugh to make it not weird. So just imagine I just bounce it out somehow. And maybe by making it accessible for free. So you can follow along in the sketch.js file that's found under the arrow here. That would be next to index.html when you click on it, on top of the text box. And so this is some P5JS script next to a preview that would be on the right. If you press the play button, that will present a distorted mirror, unless you don't want to see yourself because you have photosensitivity, sorry. That can be activated with the play button. Okay, so I could never capture everything this means in a few minutes, but if I were to try to, I'd focus on the object, which would be the visual part or the mirror. And I'd destroy it until it meant nothing so I could really know the more subjective parts. And there I just told you everything I coded and how my feelings were an afterthought. The console should have just read that my power is cultivating during that awkward silence, or inherent. I let that hit my body in every wave until I felt every eye on me and reproduced the feeling in a safe enough way. Line 14, minimizations. So I felt I could share it. Line 11, capture. If I were to rename it, I would call it Stockholm Syndrome. I just couldn't justify passing it on, so I call it self-study. It's the closest to relate. And when it's past any one sense and it becomes nonsense, multidimensional, and subject, it revolves around itself, making it a black hole or something demented, like when you speak over me and the image blurs because you can never know what I meant without your intentions. Line 17, left voice. I can't escape the function they set up, and they is my pronoun, so it was me in this consciousness. Line 24. I make everything I share despite what is given. I need an algorithm for my rest. And a sound to go with it that's an absence. I could only function draw. Line 53, when you move. And you notice it's not just me manipulating the toy or the receptacle or my trash, and we're communicating and I can't hear anything you're saying, so there's no point, but I've captured it. How this program justifies that who we are is not how we are captured, or even how we present ourselves. The average only flickers in light, the parts that have more fluid minimizations, without whether color from movement or brightness from sound. In under 5 minutes, I told you my reflection through any particular gaze, and I've been practicing seeing myself in this way and growing in dimensions only proven in the body, infinitely. Line 138. The script is written for us to continue to do the same. You can save it under any name. Line 142. And that is that on that.
All right. Thank you so much, Danielle. Give it up for Danielle. Awesome job. Love seeing original writing here at WordHack. Really appreciate that from you, Danielle. And thanks so much for sharing that project with us. Well, everyone, we have a bit of a shorter open projector this week. So that brings us to the end of the open projector. So if you have any claps remaining for Danielle, let's get them out there. Oh, yeah. And so we had a short open projector this time. I just want to encourage any of you who might be watching that it's pretty low stakes to do an open projector. It's just 5 minutes. Project doesn't need to be finished, doesn't need to be polished. You can also just sign up for an open projector spot to talk about something, talk about an idea. You can do that too. But yeah, encourage you, if you would have something you're working on, thinking about, or know someone who does, thinking about sign up for a future open projector. I generally don't post the link publicly, but if you're on our email list, which you can find a link to join in the event page, or if you just RSVP to any WordHack via the WithFriends, you can find the open projector sign up link in there. So please consider signing up for a future one. And thank you, Danielle, again, for being on our open projector. But now let's get started with the main event. And I don't want to waste any time here because our first presenter, Murilo Polese, is joining us from Sweden. I'm really excited to have Murilo with us. He is a technologist and a educational technologist, a learner, someone who designs learning systems. He's also done some really amazing work with programming language design, which I think he's going to talk to you about. Really excited to hear some more about that. And it's pretty, I think Murilo is already in the future in June 18th right now, so we appreciate him staying up late and joining us all the way from Sweden. Please give it up for Murilo Polese. All right. Welcome, Murilo.
Hello. Let me share my screen very quickly. How do I do that? Yes, I remember. Cool. Let me present this. First of all, thank you very much, Todd. Thanks everybody for joining, but thanks Todd for insisting when I got resistant about having this chat at 1 a.m. I usually sleep very early in the night, but today I am holding on strong here to talk with you. My name is Murilo. I am Brazilian, but I am also Italian. I speak from Stockholm, Sweden, and it's still day here because it's sunny. I am a dropped out science teacher. I studied physics as my university, my course, but I was not a very good student, and I was not ready to give all that academia asked from me, and I had to make a hard decision at a certain point, and I made a decision to drop out and become a software developer. And within the software development and finding myself into this new career, I think I identify myself as a creative technologist. This talks a little bit about the things I want to do and how I want to do, but I also identify myself as a full stack developer, as this talks a little bit more about my technical skills, hard skills, let's say. I am very interested in the overlap between learning and technology. I think because of my dropped out situation and my new acquired skills, I just figure out like maybe I can put those two things together. And for the past 5 years, I've been working on companies that somehow play in this area. I am currently working with Joy Labs, the Makey people, awesome people, very inspiring to work with them. But that's not what I want to talk today. Today, I want to talk about color code, a programming language without words. And that, like, to talk about a programming language without words in the WordHack, it's already exciting and nice. I want to see how this goes. But first of all, what is words, right? What is language, and what is conscious? What is reality? This is a very bold statement to say, like, it's a programming language without words, so take it with a grain of salt. It's more of a way to write programs using colors as your symbols. I'm also not owner of this name, Color Code. There are other projects. Eric Rosenbaum has a project called Color Code that's pretty cool, and there are many color-coded things in the world. So yes, if you own this name, I'm sorry, let me know, I'll figure out something else. But so this is an experiment. I'm very interested about the subject, and I'm reading and I'm studying, I'm researching on my free time, you know, and I have this, you know, theoretical ideas and frameworks, but I need to build something and experience that. So this is Color Code. It had a few versions. This is the version 3, which is was made last year. And this one is a newer iteration, the version 6. I'm already working on the version 7. And it's an experiment that I'm making after reading a lot and talking with people. And those are 3 readings that I think they are very good examples of what inspired me to talk about or write a color code. The first one is Mindstorms by Seymour Papert. I really like how he talks about computer cultures and how the way we program computers can change the culture around computers, and how the culture around computers change the way we write software for the computers. I also really like this zine by Alex Hache. There is by Alex Hache, I think it's how you pronounce their name. And it's a zine about the computer culture that I like the most. And it really resonates with me. And lately I read this book, and it's an article book, and especially the first article in this book is really cool. It's about an attempt to write an Arabic first programming language, and all the incredibly annoying problems that you get trying to do something on a computer that is not English centric. So those are 3 things that inspired me. I just want to put some context. And this is an experiment. I have some questions. I have way more questions than I can ever list. And I listed 3 or 4 of those questions, and I will just read them. I'm not going to talk about them. Otherwise, I will be lost and you'll never see a color code demo or something. The first question I have in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about this experiment is, can this computation make sense whenever we decide that mining and mass manufacturing are not good ideas? I really hope we all agree with that sooner than later. And can this computation that we are writing or that I'm making make sense when this paradigm shifts? Can this programming language allow tiny, simple computers to be programmed without a bigger and more complex computer? Can we break that pattern of always needing something, you know, requiring something bigger and more complex? And how many buttons do you need to write a program comfortably and creatively? I have a bunch of attempts, and I realized that there is a lot about user interface or interfaces, and I noticed that comfort sometimes leads to passivity, and I would like to push, like, how can comfort lead to creativity instead? And the fourth question, which is probably how I end up here, is it possible to have a programming language you don't need to learn how to read words first? Like words in general. What if you don't like to read? Or what if you don't speak English? Like today, if you want to code in the browser, you need to learn English. Is there something else possible? Like how? Those are my guiding questions, and I will jump to color code. Do you see my screen? Yes, you see my screen.
I'm not seeing your screen right now.
Do you see the color code screen?
I do not.
Oh no.
I think you might to do a new share.
Okay, let me share my screen again. What about now?
There we go. I see color code. Yes,
cool. So color code is a website, and I'll give you the link later. But right now, at color, I'll just skim through some programs, some things that I've written in color code. I made this thing dancing animation. I also made this creature animation. I made a Pong game. This is my first Pong game. I also made this maze, Pac-Man inspired thing. Falling sand simulation. Yes, we all love that. That's also possible to do with color code or like shooters thing. Or I really like this one. This one's called Wire World. It's a Cellular Automata. It's a famous one, and it's cool. It simulates electrons going through wires. This is a circuit that charges, and there is a XOR gate here that blocks, and very nerdy. But also, this is an animation I made when I arrived Sweden last year, and it was fall and all the leaves were falling, so I made this animation. I recently made another one for spring, all the dandelions falling, and you can get these animations. This is a generative maze kind of situation here, where you have to find and touch a red spot. Oh, I did not manage to generate one, but you have this, you can make this classic game things, some more abstract things. So those examples are just here to say like what I managed to do. Those like are my interests, but this is so much more powerful, and I am curious to see what other people will create with that. But before I move on, I want to call for attention that if you can pause the animation, you can clear, and then you can draw your own circuits here or any other rules, and you can make your own kind of, you can change the grid, the drawing, and keep the rules, and you will have your own interactive example. And if you are a nerd, if you put a diode on a circuit and you drop it here, it starts an oscillator. Yay, my world. I love this one. Cool. There are other examples here you can explore and you can play, you can change you can redraw things to see what happens. And if you redraw this one, I think the creatures change their path and you can do this kind of things. But okay, how does that work? I've showed a bunch of examples, but now I'll do a very quick go through how this works. Let's see. Color code works with a pixel override system. So all those things that you see here on the right are pairs of rules. You have a pattern that you are going to search here in the grid, and you have another pattern that you're going to override. So if I draw this purple pixel here, and I say, okay, turn this purple pixels into green pixels, and I press play, yeah, you get this here. And if I draw other purple pixels, it becomes purple. And I can also do the other way around. You can use the keyboard to switch colors, and you can do these blinking things, and you can keep drawing while the game is on. And this is a very simple rule. It's a simple blinking example, so you can do some aesthetics here. Nice, cool. But you've seen like playing games and doing interactive things. This that is selected here is the set of rules that run every tick. So there is a software, a machine, and every time this machine ticks, it executes all those rules. I can also have rules for arrow up, right, down, left, Z, that is the button A, and C. So I will quickly clear my screen, drop this pink one, and I will say, every time you have a pink pixel with a black pixel on top, swap their position so it looks like the pixel is going up. And do the same thing for the down button, so your pixel can go down. And the same thing goes for the right and left. I will do this very quickly here. So here, if I press the button left and there is an empty space, a black space on the left, you move here, and you have a walking pixel. And that works together with that. So I will just write a maze here, or draw a maze here, so you see. And I can walk around my maze. Okay, you can eventually put some obstacles or goals in that. The last thing I want to do is to draw on the screen. So every time I press the letter Z, that is this button, A button, I want to draw something on top of my character. So, oh no, here is, I'm looking for this. No, I want to, anytime I just draw a pixel on top, and if I press B, I just erase everything that's around me. And that's it. I can erase, I can draw my own maze now without having to go back to, well, without having to use the mouse. And this is the quickest demo I've ever done of color code. There are 3 more complex software programs that you can write. For example, this one counts how many lines there are here. And it's a program that tells there are 5 lines here, because it generates 5 of those orange pixels in the back. Or you can have this kind of software that is more of a sequencer, where you know that this pixel is going to bounce here on kind of deterministic times. And I think that is, let me see the chat if someone thought, ask a question. All right, cool, no. So I want to go back to my presentation now and say this website lives inside, this experiment lives inside of another experiment, and this other experiment is called Banana Banana, is my home server. I have this computer in my shelf now hosting a few of the projects and ideas that I share with my friends. And before I end up this presentation, I really need to say thanks to a bunch of people. The first one is Max, who is on the crowd today. Thank you very much, Max. Max was teacher assistant at School for Poetic Computation last year. I was attending to Recreate in the Past, and Max showed me all the directions, showed me early on examples of Lawrence Schmidt, cellular automata examples that blew my mind, and later on pointed me to many works of other people, and his own work was very inspiring for me and shaped very much. His work on Alchemy Online was pretty much what I was trying to achieve before I finished Color Code. I want to say thanks also to Luke Wilson, who made these fantastic videos that explain pretty much all I know about spatial programming languages. I definitely got it when I watched their videos, and one of their last videos is about spatial programming languages that are around there, and it talks a little bit. It talks about Color Code a little bit, Alchemy Online, and other cool projects you should check out. Very nice, very sweet videos. I also would like to thank a lot the Living Computation crowd, Dave Ackley and Andrew Walpole, for all the inspiration in how they challenge basic ideas about computation and what does it mean to write a program. What kind of programs can you write in this new way of thinking? The movable feast machine, huge inspiration in what I'm doing. So thank you. And this is a website that you can find more stuff, like other links. And if you want to find me on Scuttlebutt, this is my handle or my ID. That is pretty much it. And I think I am ahead of time. Look at that. Did I run too much? Is there
You're perfect. You're perfect. You're right in time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do you have more questions? Do you want to see something on Color Code? I can do some crazy glitches. How are you feeling, Todd?
I could see a crazy glitch if you wanna show me a crazy glitch.
I made this.
The crowd wants a crazy glitch. Okay.
Yes, yes, crazy glitch. So I made this snake game, and it was an attempt, and I was playing, and then started. Okay, there is 2, 3. What is this? And the snakes just got to this really weird state, and it was really hard for me to understand what was happening here. Anyway, I really enjoyed it, and it's like an interactive pattern generator. I like this a lot. This is my favorite glitch of all of them. The other glitch I like is for the spring, when you can write an extra rule here on the bottom of everything that says when you find one of those patterns here, do this, and it gets pretty wild in the nature. You can start a new thing here, and it gets this pattern that is really hard for me to tell if this is random or if this is not random. It gets to this, sometimes gets to this state. I don't know. Let me know if you find a crazy glitch in those sketches. I will try to get the. Oh, here you see there is a red. Your goal is to touch that, but it's not as simple as you will think. And this is, oh, there you go. Maybe there, no. Yeah, this is a game I made. I tried to generate a stage or like a game that was bigger than the screen. So I feel like this one. I don't know. I like this one as well. It's just a simple 3-color cycle, but it's kind of cool. I think it's cool.
So, Murilo, we have 2 questions here in the chat. Can I read one to you?
Yes, please.
So we have VA Parla asks, what would you hope to see people achieve with color code?
Yes, very good question. I think I would like people to look at color code as a puzzle, as something that you can fiddle with, and you set your goal and like you want to make a game, or you see something in the world and you are able to simulate or reproduce it here as a quick sketch without having to learn coding. And if people are able to do that, I think it's a good sign that we could think of a different way to introduce the interaction with computers without the presence of the written word. I think the written word could be something that arrives later in the computer literacy, I would say. So I would like people to express their feelings and to try out ideas. I think that's probably what I want the most. I would like people to try out ideas with color code. It's not very robust though, but it's nice to try out.
And so we have, I think, time for one more question here from Beetle EXE, who asks, can you write a color code interpreter in color code? So something to interpret the rules engine on the side, I imagine.
Yes, I love that question. Yes, you can probably do this with something like Wire World. This cellular automata is Turing complete. You can write a computer, like the big computer that you're using. You can make a simulation of it with this simulation. So in theory, yes, is it going to be creative? Is it going to be comfortable? That's a different question. And you can, and there is a project called BitPicked that the people from Living Computation told me, and they have a scientific paper, one of those white papers, telling how it's possible to write an interpreter for pixel rewriting with pixel rewriting. So it's kind of proven that somewhere that it's possible. I'm not necessarily trying to do that because I think it's pretty uncomfortable to write a computer in Wire World. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to write small computers like this capacitor simulation, if that answered your question.
Yeah, that was a great answer. You knew the white paper and everything. Fantastic. All right. Well, I think we are sadly out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, Murilo. That was a really amazing and thought-provoking presentation. Let's all give it up for Murilo in the chat.
Hey, cool. Thank you.
Thank you for staying up late to be with us.
Cool. I'll stay even more to watch the rest of the event.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Murilo. That was really cool. And Murilo, if you're still listening, can you post the link to color code in the chat? I'm sure we have plenty of people in the WordHack audience who would like to try and build things. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Murilo. Okay, and Murilo's got a link there in the chat. Looks like you can put there, and okay, there's some links to different color codes on here. Yep. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, Murilo. Okay, we are ready to move on to our next featured presenters. Really excited to have Nat Mesnard and Patrick Watson here with us. They are the designers of an exciting new business-friendly tabletop role-playing game. That's right. We are here to talk to you about Business Wizards, and I won't say too much more other than Nat is a is an amazing storyteller, writer, game designer. Patrick, a fellow game designer. Really excited to see what they have to share with us about Business Wizards. Let's give it up for Nat Mesnard. All right, applause, yeah.
Hey.
Hey, welcome.
Hey guys.
Thanks for having us.
For sure. Welcome.
Yeah. Yay. We are here to talk about Business Wizards. So yep, I'm Nat Mesnard, and I'm joined by my co-designer on this RPG, Patrick Watson.
Hello.
So this is an artist talk about this high concept RPG called Business Wizards that we made and released during COVID. It's a rules light RPG where players pretend to be masters of the sorcerous arts who just happen to work in a gray corporate office or Silicon Valley startup. Basically, like, and this is his line, but I'll say it because it's so awesome. Imagine The Office, but Jim is Gandalf and Dwight is Saruman, and all the cubicles are gelatinous. So that's the vibe. And of course, we've been huge fans of WordHack before it was online, and totally inspired by the vibe there, and like really excited to be talking about this game because I think some of the inspiration we got there went into the development process of working on this.
For sure.
So yeah, so we have a little intro for you here just to get the mood going. So today we're going to do a deep dive to peel the onion on the agile design process that created Business Wizards. We'll double click on the dev's ideation process and do some iterations on the synergistic ecosystem of design principles that allowed Business Wizards to bootstrap itself to the next level. Pat and I will touch base on the low-hanging fruit, but we'll try to stay out of each other's lanes and avoid blue skying. We'll have to save some questions for the parking lot, but by the end of the journey, every member of the team should understand how easy it is to pretend you're competent with fake business language. So we're gonna talk a little bit about like our just what we love, what we think about as artists, as game makers, and as teachers. And I'm gonna let Pat talk about his background a little bit first.
Yeah, do you want to embiggen us a little bit there, Todd? Oh, this was the joke. Missed this joke. It's cool.
Yep, this is the belated office joke there. So you can always just say slide.
Slide. Yeah, so my background is actually in AI and machine learning. I used to work at IBM Research, where I worked on a lot of NLP projects, and now I actually teach machine learning at Minerva University. And when you work on AI for a while, you begin to realize that there's like this really large chunk of AI, which is just people trying to make the robots pretend to be human a little bit better. And so that can be, Turing's question answering format, or just like, this is Ben Goertzel, who makes stuff out of latex that kind of makes it look more horribly sort of pseudo-realistic person-like. But it's almost always the measure of robot success to just see how closely you can ape human behaviors and how much you can fool them. And so I've worked on a number of these projects where basically we sat down and said, like, well, what's something that we can do that's sort of silly and human-like? And so I made one where I wrote a machine learning bot that would, an NLP bot that would kind of try to answer children's science questions. And so it would, guess, oh, it's C or it's B when you feed it in like an 8th grade science test. One of my students recently made a patent generating robot. He tuned GPT-3 so that it would generate fake patents. And so you get all these wonderful, like incredibly boring things out, like the method of claim 13 further comprising former low-level metal interconnect structures embedded in lower-level dielectric material layers over a substrate. totally indistinguishable from real patent claims in in weird areas like transistors. And then my favorite is I actually had another student, Stephen Tay, who he started a business selling kind of domain names that he would generate with some NLP techniques that would kind of make fake startup names. And so before the show, I put WordHack into, I hope Todd's okay with this, because Todd, the robots have better branding for you now. So they suggest that instead of WordHack, you could call this WordLift, or maybe Hacklytical, Word Disruptor, Wordly, or this is my favorite, Hackin'.
I love that.
So one of the things that all these had in common were we really were trying to do something that humans do that are, sort of like, regarded as like creative or interesting. And the robot is always trying to pass as human. And the way that it passes in human is the way that we always find humans are passing when they try to take on other identities or act in different spaces. Because, for example, with the question answering robot, the robot doesn't know anything about science. This robot was explicit, this multiple choice question answering robot was explicitly built not to have any scientific knowledge. It only uses the kind of techniques that you probably used in high school to get through a test. So it knows that longer answers are more likely to be right. It knows that positive language like both and are more likely to point to the right answer. It knows that if you don't know anything else, you should always just pick C.
Yeah, so why would you pick C if you don't know the right answer?
So multiple choice test taking is like a competitive game between students and teachers, and the teachers try to hide the right answer in there. And so you can't make it A, because that would be obvious. You wouldn't hide the right answer under the first shell. And B is like, it's sometimes okay, but you don't want to do it too often because that's also a little bit obvious. But by the time you've gotten to C, it's like, oh yeah, that's the sneakiest place to hide it.
Right.
And you don't want to put it last. And so if you look at big corpora of these questions, the distribution of right answers often is C heavy. And so the robot figures that out, and it's good at guessing, but it doesn't really have any of the knowledge. It's just really good at pretending, which always makes us feel when we do one of these questions like, well, that's probably because people are just also really good at pretending that they have science knowledge. Like it does the thing that we do as well. So that's my perspective on it. Nat, you want to take it away? You come from a different background.
Yes, so that's one side of the Business Wizards kind of development mindset. I made some slides here too about myself. I am also a teacher. I teach interactive fiction, narrative design, creative writing when I can, at some universities in New York City. I teach at Pratt Institute and SVA here in New York, and also at continuing ed interactive fiction classes at a place online called Catapult. So I write literary fiction, I make games, and I teach, and I'm obviously interested in just the intersection of games and literature, and game making accessible to like a more literary mindset through simple tools like Twine and Bitsy, which I'm showing some recent little playful things I've done in those that relate actually specifically with teaching and getting people to understand how to use these who might not have necessarily a logical or programming background.
Yeah, I feel it's interesting that a lot of WordHack is trying to like kind of pull literature into computer science, and you're trying to pull
computer science into literature. So. Yeah. I love it when I get to pick up with some accomplished creative writing folks and get them addicted to Twine or really jazzed about the possibilities of interactive fiction. And it's very exciting when people who are used to writing traditional fiction suddenly realize that you can give people choices and their brains like creatively explode. It's so wonderful. When I'm not, making games and teaching interactive fiction, I write literary fiction. This is a gorgeous illustration from a recent short story I published called Notes on Acro Yoga Camp that ran on Autostraddle not too long ago. And I show this because I wanted to talk a tiny bit about camp, since that relates with my interest in some of what Pat works on, and also led me to really dig RPGs as a medium. So as a genderqueer writer and game designer, I've obviously always been interested in cosplay, and like, duh, you know. But one of my interests in tabletop RPGs as a medium, and specifically high concept, ironic, and one-shot RPGs, is how they enable character performances that are reminiscent of drag. So like in the grand spirit of my desire to be a completely ridiculous human being, I have this picture of me on here pretending to be a wizard. And it looks very goofy and one-off, but it's actually part of a very deep and meditative artistic process.
I really think that comes through. I don't see anything goofy about this.
I know. So
serious stuff.
Yes, it's very serious, and it's a very serious artistic practice of, you know, essentially the way I see RPGs is it's this sort of like easy route for anyone to explore and expose the ridiculousness of dominant culture norms through performance and play, which is really what drag, or at least part of what drag does and is. And I love that games make that available to everybody. So just to give you a sense of this part of my artistic practice, prior to designing Business Wizards, I pretended to be the poet Richard Sykin in a literary read-off battle where writers battle each other by reading lines from their literary heroes. And I also taught group fitness classes as an early version of my himbo drag king persona, Butch Deadlift. And I've also spent most of my career as an artist trying to talk like literally anybody else into understanding why I think all of this is so funny. So yay, I have a tabletop RPG now that hopefully gets other people to kind of get this. So I just had a quick, some stuff to touch on from some of my students, because my teaching practice, I think also, as is Patrick's, is important to me and is a way I express myself. Because RPGs are a form of teaching, and they inform teachers and help you understand more about how you can make teaching be playful without gamifying, because no. So just really quick, sampling of what I do in my classroom. I wanted to brag about some of my excellent students. I have a couple images here from an assignment I do where I assign students to write a lore book. You know, obviously I have this love of the meta, the high concept, and the weird. So I have students design a lore book for what I call a crossover art IP. And what that amounts to is a prompt where I say, your world building should center on the notion of X, but make it Y. And what that is X is some existing work of public domain fiction sourced from Project Gutenberg, and Y is a genre, theory, or aesthetic conceit. So this resulted in some really awesome stuff when I ran it in my classroom the year before COVID, when I had a really big group of wonderful students. This is a picture of Detective Dracula by Nicole Skulatz, which was Dracula, but make it noir. And then I had a cyberpunk take on The Wizard of Oz, also really awesome. And then we finally, I think I have this on here. Yes, this was a queer take on the biblical afterlife, where by Monica Fadness, in which Jesus was a robot. Oh, and the Cyberpunk Wizard of Oz piece was Holly Welch. Absolutely fantastic work. I love this kind of stuff so much because it gets that energy of performance, play, and ridiculousness in there. And that is really what I brought to the collaboration we did to create Business Wizards. So on that note, let's actually talk a little bit about the game itself. Did you want to show that picture? Okay. Yeah, Pat. So talk a little bit about Business Wizards, and we'll just chat.
You know, this is where we're coming from. We want to encourage play and pretending. We want to, you know, ask the question, like, how do you get people to pretend to be both a wizard and a corporate wizard. And so, one of the things that really helped us was the art in the books. We had help from this wonderful artist. Remind me of their name.
It's Tina Bongiorno.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the really captured kind of the aesthetic spirit of the corporate world of magic. And so all of the images we're showing it are from Tina Bongiorno, and I wanted to start out with some of them. The game of Business Wizards, we actually tried to bring in one of the things that really struck us is how much of the world of business is just like silly arcane bullshit. And so it is really easy to move back and forth from the language of magic to the language of business. We start every quest where you do an adventure scoping step. You do a SWOT analysis where you plot out the strengths and weaknesses. What do you hope to accomplish with this adventure? What does winning look like for the Business Wizards? What does their company make? What's their North Star? What are they trying to do? And so that's kind of this initial thing that allows people to kind of interact with each other and establish kind of a common ground and a pretending space to be Business Wizards in.
Yes. Yes, and this was one of those things where people were like, oh yeah, starting a SWOT analysis, starting out a tabletop RPG with a SWOT analysis is definitely the right way to get people going on this.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, we know SWOT analysis, it works. Like,
no, it was bad because like half of the, sometimes there are three kinds of people who encounter this. The ones who've never heard of a SWOT analysis.
Right.
And they're just like, okay, whatever, this seems dumb, but fine, whatever. The same thing that everyone does the first time they go into this meeting. Then there's the people who've been like deeply scarred by this, and they just start weeping.
Yes.
And like, that's also fun. And then everybody else just who kind of knows about it, but hasn't been totally destroyed by it.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Yes, it's very
but it
fun
really works to make a good adventure.
Yeah. I mean, and part of it for me, it's a like ridicule capitalism generator in a way.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I'm a big advocate of with anything like this is using it as a mode of catharsis to just process the hell that is capitalism or the hell that is whatever dominant norm you're playing with when you do this type of performance. And we've had some people say like, this is too real, but then like in a good way or a cathartic way, I guess. So those are my favorite moments when people are like, oh no.
It really does establish a clear set of boundaries for the play that's going to come later. We have things, I forget if this is strengths or weaknesses, but there's one that's came up in adventure that said something like everybody in the group was a metahuman. Nobody was actually human. They're all like half dragon or elf or dwarf or something like that. And so they're like, oh, it's great. It looks like our company isn't an old humans club. And then one of the weaknesses was that the management of the company was in fact an old humans club.
Old humans club.
So the next thing we do, and this is actually from the system that the game is built in, which is called the polymorph system, that's used in several other games from the 9th level publisher. And one of the core ideas of it is that each different die is kind of good at different things, represents different kind of personalities or ideas. And so every time you make a polymorph game, you try to figure out kind of, you do the sort of, 4 humors thing, and you try to figure out what are the 4 different business people that exist.
Right, the 4 roles in business. So in Business Wizards, you have the innovator, the dynamo, the cutthroat, and the manager. And it's a fun system because, it's rules light. Everyone only ever rolls 1 die, sometimes 2 if you have advantage. And there's a ton of storytelling you can do with this model. It's inclusive and welcoming to folks that have never played Dungeons and Dragons before, which was really important to us because we want everybody to role play magical corporate hell.
Yeah.
But
I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for many, many years, and it's very much a game that comes out of wargaming and like white male culture. And the core mechanic of Dungeons and Dragons is someone proposes something that would be fun, and then you roll a die to see if it goes well or goes badly. That is the core mechanic of it, but it's buried under a lot of layers of working out hit points and things like that. And the polymorph system was kind of appealing because it is just that. You just propose something fun that might happen, and then you roll a die and you see if it does happen or if something goes horribly awry.
Yeah.
And what it means to be go horribly awry in polymorph is we have this idea of kind of critting, succeeding, and botching. And when something goes really well in polymorph, you succeed and you get credit for it in Business Wizards.
Yeah.
And if it goes really badly, if you botch, you still succeed,
But
your boss gets credit for it.
your department gets credit.
Yeah.
So it's actually fun because most of
It's
the time
much
you
worse than failure.
succeed, but you have to role play something horrible, which is your department or your boss taking credit for your accomplishment.
So we really like the system. It's really most light. It really kind of fades in the background, and people just start telling stories about their silly business wizard. Every wizard has a few magical things about them. This special magical edge. They might be a leprechaun. They might have a rainbow dragon that follows them around. That sort of thing. You get to pick one of these things.
Yeah.
And you also pick kind of your role in the social organization where you work in the company. And a lot of the fun of making the game was just coming up with these ridiculous examples.
Yes. And the thing that I find so cool about this kind of like relentless punning is you put people in this mindset, and speaking about the idea of this kind of business language that you can mock or inhabit as a performance, people really know what this is. It is almost like a fandom or like a nerd argot that people learn and know. And even people who haven't worked in a corporate job really know exactly what the language of this is and how to do it and be it. And it's amazing how cohesive of a like world building world it is, without like delivering it to people or explaining it to people who don't happen to have worked, for example, at IBM Research.
Oh yeah, I'm a lifer. I know the double click on. I'd like to double click on that idea. Actually happened to me. That was really painful. But so I had to like literally write an entire game as therapy to get away from that experience that I had.
Yes, there's playing games as therapy, and then there's also writing a game as therapy, which we can't recommend enough. It's highly encouraged.
And one of the things that I think is really true about that kind of work life thing, we've had a couple of people play who are like, you know, their own boss and they run a small business, you know, engraving license plates or something like that, and they're always like, oh my god, this is like, why would you say that? You know, like it's a really alien experience for them, but they still, you know, they still enjoy it and they still get along in it. It's just always fun to have those people in there. Most people have a reaction somewhere between like, this is really funny, I get to make fun of work, and like, this is not funny, this is just like work.
Yeah. So I think we may be close to close to 20 minutes. I think we can talk about this one more thing, because this is one of the most awesome aspects of the game. And then after that, I think we can roll in and see if anybody has comments, questions in chat. We've got chat open, so if you have anything you want to say to us, accuse us of, or ask us about,
do so, and we'll know in about 40 seconds.
But Pat, you should talk a little bit about this. I'll just introduce it by saying in this game, there is a mechanic involving what we call sticky scrolls.
So the way that magic is actually brought into the game is that every wizard gets some sticky scrolls, and you get to write what you want to have happen on the sticky scrolls. You have them a few times per adventure. You write down what you want to happen, and it just happens.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to roll. You don't have to do anything for it. It's the way to kind of grab control of the story with magic. The only constraint that you're under is every wizard picks a couple of words of power, and I have an example of some words of power up here. So your word of power might be smarm, and you have to just write something smarmy on your sticky note. Your word of power might be fear. You have to write something terrifying on your sticky note. It might be, you know, logistics or branding. TED Talks is one that we get not uncommonly.
Yes.
And so this is the way that kind of magic gets into the game. And I really thought that it was really fun to kind of see the way in which people would express this corporate language on these sticky notes. There's even a mechanic where if a character dies, nobody actually dies, they're just working from home. And from that point on, they can only communicate with sticky notes. And so it changes the way that people are able to engage. And so there's both this verbal and written component to the game that I think makes it, you know, that kind of brings out that kind of language of corporate aspect of it. It's this generator for dumb business language.
Yes.
And it's interesting to see that the constraint that you have in the workplace of having to write memos is kind of produces this language. You have to talk like this
Yeah.
in order to fit your ideas into this stupid small space.
Yes. And I mean, of course, we can say, like, when we wrote this, we did not know that COVID-19 was coming. And we did indeed say that working from home represented dying in Business Wizards. As it turns out, everybody in Business Wizards is dead because we ended up playing it only online.
Yeah, so far we've played it exclusively online. It works really well. We actually put together a PowerPoint presentation, not too dissimilar from this, and people edit it as they play.
Yeah, so the PowerPoint presentation actually becomes the world of the game in the online version of this for digital TTRPG play. That has also been very meta, and many people have said, oddly enough, that they enjoy making presentations in this game in a way that they never do in real life. I'm glad people want to do that for fun.
Yeah, that was actually, it's actually kind of the major meta hope of the game, that people can do businessy things and enjoy them because they don't have to do them. They're not like obligated to do them. It's just a silly thing that they can do. They can mock their own work experience instead of being trapped.
Exactly. So I wanted to maybe bring it to a close there, and obviously thank folks for listening to, or just tapping into our like crazy like shared development brains in making a game like this. If you have questions or comments, or you want us to respond to something in chat, now is the time to do it. Todd, I don't know if you had any questions for us before we close it out.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what is like a session? Is it a one shot sort of thing? Like, what is the arc of a session of Business Wizards?
So it is written to be a one-shot game. Any polymorph game you can do as a campaign, but it's structured to be a one-shot. So like a 2 to 3 hour experience, start to finish, including character creation. And do you want to talk about what the structure is?
One of the structures is the game is explicitly time boxed. So you sit down, you plan your adventure, you make your character, and you pick a clock time, which is represents 5 o'clock at the end of the day. And then wherever you are in the adventure at that point, you pivot, you describe everything you've accomplished so far as what you were trying to do all along. You declare that you've succeeded. And we do a 360 review where the players actually make their own PowerPoint slide and present to the DM, the GM, like what they accomplished as Business Wizards during this play session. And we kind of decide what happens to them afterwards. We have had a few cases where players, brought back characters in other sessions, and it works very naturally in this kind of campaign mode of Business Wizards, because it's just like they just got a different job.
Right. Or it's a new project.
Yeah, new project or something like that. So
yeah. So it's SWOT analysis. So character creation, SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis generates probably, if you're doing a one shot, you're going to do 3 big scenes, 360 review, pivot 360 review.
Yeah.
So it's a great little single experience that people tend to run through. I generally think that playing a campaign of this might be like too painful with the level of punning.
I'm willing to try, but yeah, we mostly play one shot sessions, occasionally a few.
There's one more thing though, which is that it is explicitly designed to have an option to be a shared GM game. So the original text of it encourages folks to write it as shared, or to play as shared GM. You can run it in the traditional style with a sort of head project manager who runs the scenes for you, but because the campaign or the session is generated by the SWOT analysis collaboratively, the scenes are imagined at the time of play, and anyone can GM those scenes.
Yeah,
that's
a good lead in to our question in the chat. Maybe Patrick, you were about to read it out as well. PSD MGN 3YPV 8F HBF asks, would this be good to play with coworkers?
Please do.
Yes.
Please play this with your coworkers. I played this with some of people I've actually had work relationships with, and it's really fun. You have a lot of shared drama that you can talk about.
Yes.
I also just want to plug that we do. I'll link an actual play. We've done a couple of casts so you can see what a game session is like. And we actually do learn to plays of this on startplaying.games.
Yeah.
So if you want to play the game, it's low stakes. There's usually one on Saturdays at 2. You can sign up. Startplaying.game is basically just a big matching service for people playing tabletop role-playing games.
Yeah.
And so Business Wizards is on there, and I think I'll link the session that's coming up the most soonest free Let's Play.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly encourage people to sign up. It's super fun.
Awesome. Well, I think we are about at time, but thank you so much, Nat and Patrick. And is Business Wizards available? Can we get it now?
Yes.
You absolutely can.
You want to drop
Yes,
a link in chat?
Yeah, we'll link it in the chat. It's available on the publisher's website. It's ninthlevel.com. There's digital downloads, and it is actually originally published as a physical zine. So before COVID, of course, everything went online, but the intention was for it to manifest as a real live, small, perfect bound RPG zine, just like they did it in the old school, but you know, themed around Silicon Valley. So people should definitely pick it up if you're interested, and you can play it in person if things are open and people are vaxxed, or you can play it online.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Nat and Patrick. Let's give it up in the chat. All righty, thank you so much. Very excited to check out and play Business Wizards one day. I am currently playing in a somewhat business corporate themed Dungeons and Dragons campaign, so I'm looking forward to getting an injection of quality puns from the Business Wizards book. Okay, so we have one presenter left, and before I bring them up, I want to have a brief, smooth NPR moment here where I tell you, the listener, the watcher at home, about some ways that you can support Babycastles. Hey friends, have you heard about Babycastles? Babycastles is an independent video game gallery nonprofit. Supports all kinds of events, video games, and digital art culture to people with all kinds of backgrounds, supporting lots of small communities, lots of independent game designers, a great place to show an early creative digital work. And we've been online for the past year. We've been surviving, but I wouldn't say completely thriving. But we have been able to keep running programs like WordHack because of your support. And you can head over to withfriends.co/babycastle/join. I'm going to drop that link in the chat here. And become a member. We've got some different membership tiers here. I'm going to move myself over here, make myself small so you can see all this great money language. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. So you can become a member at $1, $5, $20, $50, or $100 a month. There's some great perks you can get, including shirts, buttons, curated digital downloads, and you can also get discount to events. So if you're coming to WordHack every month, you can get a 25% discount for $5 a month, 50% discount on $20 a month. That money goes to support all the great programming at Babycastles, including WordHack. All of last year, WordHack was supported by a grant that Babycastles got for us. So any support to Babycastles is a big help, and that's a big way to help support the show. Okay, this has been your Babycastles NPR moment. I also want to shout out my main man, MBB, and his song Sax, which is the unofficial WordHack theme song. It is a royalty-free song, but I don't want to punish MBB for making royalty-free music. I think a creator is a creator, and we support MBB here at WordHack. Okay, and saying that, I'm going to fade out Sax by MBB and introduce our final presenter here. Very excited to have Edith Viau joining us from, I believe, Montreal. Edith also creates work under the name Fanarchilist. makes a lot of exciting work dealing with systems, with math, with financial systems, some very high concept things. But tonight, I believe she has some different sorts of live writing experiments to show us. I have some live writing in my background as well, so I'm excited to see what she has in store. Please give it up for Edith Viau.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, Edith.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do some live writing today. By today, I mean now. What do I mean by live writing? So I used to write a lot. I still write a lot, less, but still. And once in a while, I get stuck, and I don't know what to write next. So I started thinking about how I could go around making games to help me with that. By this, I'm not talking about interactive fiction, but really about the act of writing itself, how to make writing itself interactive, or if I might be like a little bit more ambitious, how to reinvent the writing process itself. So the goal is to write. The main interaction is through writing. And the game is mostly open-ended. It's not technically a game. It's what you made out of it. That's the game. So let's look at some of them. My first one, yes, I had the double precision binary floating point window open to fill up the space so that you wouldn't see the games. But we don't need that anymore. This is a race. So this is the first game I made. The inspiration is from running. When you run intervals. Sometimes it's a way of training for running. What you want to do is you want to run really fast for a small amount of time, and then you want to stop and walk or run slower for a smaller amount of time, and then you start again and you look like this. So we're going to do the same thing, but with writing. So I'm not sure where am I in the loop? Let's try. No, I cannot try. I cannot write, sorry. So I have to wait. I'm walking right now, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to write next. And now I have 20 seconds to write, and we're going to write together. Okay, you're going to type in the chat, and maybe I'll write it. So we have a wow, and then we have hello world, let's say, and then I'm going to continue writing because apparently I'm the live writer. Yes. Oh no, 20 seconds is left. We have to think now. What are we going to write next? It's this constant tension, you know, you can only get so far before you have to stop again and think about what you're going to write next. So let's get more inspiring. Yes. What was I going to say? Yes, you are the live writer. This is a live writing session. It's going so well so far, I guess. I'm not a really good live writer. The race was friendship all along. Yes, that's a good one. Let's keep it in mind for the next loop. Now we get to think. I cannot write. I can only think about what I'm going to write next. So are we ready? Let's go. We have only 20 minutes. The race was friendship all along. This is even more difficult than live coding. Maybe? That's a lot of work. Okay, so that was my first idea. And then we get these live writing sessions. Well, what do we have next? A computable circuit. What if, I'm not sure which word I want to keep. I want to keep every other word, but in a certain way. My inspiration is from a person who only listens to what suits them. I think it's this one, yes. So I'm going to ask you to type things in the chat again. Oh, here's help. I am stuck in a text area factory. And now I can curate this, and I'm going to keep only every other word. Help in Textaria Factory. I think this sounds like a business wizards thing that will happen, you know, like a Textaria Factory. We can also rework it. Help in Textaria Factory, and text writes you. Create it. Help text you. There you go. There's a story. So this is all fine and fun and inspiring, I hope, for you, because I know it's fun for me, at least, to do this. But of course, one of the things I'm obsessed with, generally speaking, is randomness. So I had to put in a little bit of randomness. By a little bit, I mean a lot of it. So the cursor as a random writer. My inspiration was, of course, Mallarmé, with a throw of dice. Never will abolish chance. I think it's the right translation in English, but I'm not sure. So this is random. This is completely random. Yes, it is random. And then we can have a lot of white space just for good measure. And we can add no tab, because it's going to change the fuck is, sorry. So just spaces, a lot of spaces. We could have, let's try to type fast enough. It doesn't work. It's always moving around the screen. I think that this one is really interesting if you're really stuck on an idea and you're really trying to just getting the word out, and maybe you're not sure about how you want to say something, but you're just trying to forget even about what you're going to say or how you're going to say it, and you're just like telling it, you know? And then after you have this first draft, then maybe you can unravel it or something. I'm not sure how to make it work yet. I just think it's an interesting idea that I've been playing with. Yes, comments in the chat that it reminds them of writing with big hands on a really sensitive touch pad. So I went further with this idea of circuit writing games, and participated in the Calvino Jam for Italo Calvino last year. And I was interested in making games based on each of Calvino's memo in 6 memos for the last millennium, for the new millennium, sorry. So you have a series of prompts here. I'm still working on this game. By this, I mean, like, I'm not sure how to make it feel more like a game. I actually would like it to feel more interactive, but we can still go ahead. And that's something that's really liked. Maybe a business spell. It's really liked. We can save the object. We can enter another object. This object is something that's really, really light, not heavy at all. Something, I don't know. Live writing is hard. A bread? Bread. A bread of what? A bread of how? A bread of a feeder. Yes, let's go with that. And we can save the object. And then we can reorder them later by how like they are. And the next few circuits are mostly based around the circuits that I've made before. So like you have 30 seconds to write a short story. But then it stops after 30 seconds. You only have 30 seconds. So it's a Pomodoro of writing a story. And yeah, there's 5 more of them, but I'm going to let you discover them for yourself. If you're interested in Italo Calvino work and or electronic literature, there's the Calvino Jam this year that's happening starting in a few days. So just so you know. And yeah, live writing. We did a bunch of live writing. So I hope you enjoyed this. And thank you. Merci. And a few links about me. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Edith. Let's give it up in the chat. That's some clap. Oh yeah, some very cool writing machines. Really like that as a concept of thinking about games to play by oneself or towards a simple end and a simple goal, not just for fun, but to produce writing. Definitely were some inspiring prompts, and just the structure of creating just like a very simple mechanism and seeing how that affects your writing process. Edith, I don't know if you're still there, but we have a question in the chat. Snugglepotamus asks, which of these do you find yourself using the most in your writing?
I think that the interval seems to be the one that works best for me, because it's really like you write a lot and then you stop, and then you write a lot, or try to at least. And of course, if you want to for the project, it doesn't have to be 20 seconds. You can say like, I'm going to write a lot for more than 20 seconds or 5 minutes, let's say, and then stop for 30 seconds and exit around loop on it. I'm not sure why it is the one. I think maybe it forces you to empty your mind and just like get things done. So yeah.
Yeah, that definitely seems like, I know it's thing to like just like set a timer to write by, but usually you'll set like a longer than 30-second timer when you're writing, but still like benefit from breaking it up. It's when you like bring it down to that tiny scale and force those micro breaks. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. And all right, everyone, that is our show. Let's give it up one more time to Danielle from our Open Projector, to Murilo Polese coming to us from Sweden, to Nat Mesnard and Patrick Watson, and to Edith Viau. Let's give it up one more time for our amazing WordHack presenters. Thank you so much in the chat tonight for being a participatory audience. It can be tricky presenting online sometimes, but having an active listening chat really helps me, helps the presenters, and keeps that feeling of a real show going. So thanks to all of you. That is our show. WordHack, though, is going to be back next month and every month on the third Thursday. Next month on July 15th is our 7-year anniversary. So that's going to be a pretty exciting show. More details on that one to come. It's going to be a blast. But yeah, thanks again to all our presenters, and have a great rest of your night, rest of your day to everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Todd Anderson. See you next time.